Hey, welcome back to the Ready State. Today we're talking about one of my favorite drills to improve cycling efficiency. One of the things that we're trying to do is have our athletes have access to their power as soon as that foot comes over the top, so that it's not always done on the bottom, but that it's coming over the top. This also is a drill that translates into concentric starts. So if I have to deadlift, I have to Olympic lift, I'm pushing off the ground, I'm doing a seated jump, or I can't use that spring, I can't always load that fascial system, I'm gonna have to get into a position and generate power from a dead start. And that is the lowly step up. One of the things that we do, or see a lot of, is that this is always doing some kind of loaded step up is what we've thought of traditionally as good single leg work, right? We're taking the leg into single function, we're having a balance, but instead what we tend to see is people are rolling into this position without much thought of what's going on. And we've talked about foot pressure on the box before in the past. And when we see people try to step up, what we're saying is, hey, look, I want you to load, but I want you to ultimately end up balanced between the ball of the foot and the heel with the ankle in a less compensated position. So you can see straight ahead, my ankle's in the inside of my foot, and I've lost this outside. And now it's overcompensated. I've got too much ankle out, right? That's too much knees out. Now in this mid-range, I look down and my ankle is in the middle of my foot, independent. So as I stand up, I'm trying to maintain the integrity of this foot system with my big toe on the ground, right? So I have that toe as a choice, my feet can wobble, but when I load that thing up, sing, that's what should be happening. There's no wobble in the foot, you can see what's happening. In fact, what we do is, if I was moving quickly, what I want our athletes to be able to do is to find that position where they can generate the most force, which is still the same idea as jumping, still the same kind of repetition without repetition. Sean, that's for you. And that's always about kettlebell swings, first push, all the mechanics we're always working on, even squats. But one of the drills that we can kind of take out of this step up is being able to have our athletes generate this power and force through the leg without rolling forward, without using the fascial spring. And what we'll do then is say, hey, depending on the task, it's gonna be much harder if I'm holding something up top, much easier if I'm holding something forward. If I carry something low, I can hinge forward. And what I'm looking for is that I can get my athletes into a position where they know that once they go, there's no more knee forward position, there's no more translation. This ends up being a crucial drill when we're trying to get to the bottom of this jumper's knee dilemma. One of the things that we're trying to work on is that if I'm always loaded in the system and using this fascial momentum, don't have a feel for my foot, then this knee is translating forward through a very loaded system. So my quads are inserting all the way down here in my tibia, right? There's my kneecap into the tibia. And as that knee comes forward in that loaded system, potentially that's a big vector load to the system. That kneecap is just slamming forward, and that causes a huge mechanical advantage that's called a vector load in the middle of that system, right? It's a 2-to-1 mechanical advantage. Even be crazier because it's so close to the insertion. So one of the things that we're talking about when we're trying to unravel this kind of knee issue with a lot of our athletes is having them learn how to have this hamstring control, which is one of the things that we try to teach, right? That you can't just be sloppy and bouncy. We want you to use your hamstrings to help decelerate the knee system. That's all well and good. What does that look like? Well, one of the things that we're doing is we're saying, okay, get into a position, got your foot balanced, feeling good, toe on the ground. When you go to stand up, the only thing that should happen is the knee should track back as the hip extends. What I don't want to see is this scoop where I've lost the weight on my heel, knees come forward, and that's how I'm standing up. And even as I do that, I'm like, whoa, the pressure on my knee goes through the roof. So loading into a position, again, this is a skill transfer exercise we use for our cyclists, where I can get them to feel what it's like to build tension at this end range and to be able to slowly, concentrically control that without any wobbling. So I can still use the back leg as modulation. I can push off to help modulate that pressure, but as I stand up, my cue, or the things I'm looking at as a coach are, am I surrendering the foot position? Is that knee drifting forward? So what I should be doing is loading the torso into a position where it allows me to step on the gas, and when I step on the gas, pressure is constant, and I stand right up. So that as my foot comes around, or I get into the bottom position, whoop, I can have easy access to that full quad capacity at a moment's notice. As the torso comes upright, whew, this is gonna be trickier. I better have more ankle range of motion so that can happen. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to do a good morning for that same setup. As you're watching your athletes step up on the box, put your hand in front of their knee, make sure that they balance, challenge them, progressing that to a higher box, more hip flexion demands. Whew, that's gonna be tricky to be able to have that much power without the knee wobbling forward. So don't just look at this as an exercise of, hey, now we're gonna do single leg step ups. Let's look at this as an exercise to train intramuscular control and coordination so we have better timing and sequencing and don't always rely on that fast spring to stand up. Good luck.